So, welcome to our video. So today we're going to answer the question, what is Power BI Desktop? Power BI Desktop is a free software that you can download from Microsoft that allows you to get and transform, to run calculations and interlink tables of your data, and then to publish that data either through the form of reports that you can view on Power BI Desktop, or alternatively publishing it to the Power BI service online for distribution to others. There are a few different ways you can get Power BI. The desktop form is the version that you can install on your computer that has the most power. You can access Power BI purely online, and once you've actually created reports and dashboards, you're able to view those on your mobile. So today what we're going to do a quick demo of what sort of things you can do in Power BI Desktop, and how you can use this to help create very quick and easy reports and charts. So to get started, this is what you'll effectively see on the screen in Power BI Desktop when you install it and load it. You can see there's a big button here called Get Data. This is essentially where we typically start. If you click that, or there's a section in the ribbon you can see behind this main screen as well. For now, we're going to get data sources from an Excel workbook, but you can see you can get data from a range of different places, different files, different databases. If you're using a SQL database or a SAP database, Oracle, there's a few different sources you can go to. If you happen to use Azure, then there's the ability to access your databases that are stored in the cloud in Azure, as well as a range of other online services, including things like SharePoint, Microsoft Exchange, Salesforce, and a range of different other places. Finally, for everything that doesn't fit into the above lists, then there's OData feeds, ODBC links, and you can even scrape data straight from the web as well. As I mentioned before, for this example, we're going to use an Excel file. So let's grab data from Excel, double click on that, and I have a file that I've set up here that's ready to go. So I mentioned that Power BI allows you to get and transform data. This is actually the same feature that's available in Excel, either under Get and Transform if you're using Excel 2016, or Power Query if you're using Excel 2013 or earlier. The interface is essentially the same. The technology in the Power BI product is a little bit more advanced than what you tend to see in Excel these days. Effectively, the goal is to firstly get data. As you can see, I can select different sheets within the Excel file that I would like to bring into Power BI Desktop, and then I can choose to load it straight into Power BI Desktop or edit. This is the get process, effectively. If I click on Edit, this will bring up the Query Editor. The Query Editor in Power BI is something I can use to then adjust and adapt the data before I actually bring it in. So this is the Query Editor interface. For those of you who have used Power Query, this should be very familiar to you. This is where we can transform different columns in our data set. We can add or remove rows, delete columns, we can pivot or unpivot the data. We can even do transformations to either to specific columns, or we can transform and add those results as a new column to the data set. Once we're happy with the data, we can click Close and Apply in the top left-hand side. This will finish the process of getting, transforming, and finally importing the data into Power BI Desktop. Now, once the data is actually loaded, you'll notice there are three items on the left-hand side of the Power BI Desktop window. The first is our report section. The second is our data section. This is where we can see a summary of the actual data itself that we've imported. We can also perform additional calculations here by either creating new columns, or we can create measures. If you're familiar with the terminology, you're probably a user of Power Pivot in Excel 2010 to 2016. So the technology that you use in Power Pivot is essentially replicated here in Power BI Desktop as well. Third tab on this list is the Relationships tab. And the Relationships tab is, again, very similar for anyone who's used Power Pivot previously, or anyone who has used Access. So we can see a list of the 4 tables that we've imported, along with the relationships that link each table together. So for example, every sale that we have in our sales table is linked up to a particular product that's being sold. In this way, we're able to run charts that combine data from different tables. So we could say, calculate the number of sales associated with given product categories when the product category is contained in the product list, but the actual sales amount is based in the sales list. Going back to the report tab, we can see how easy it is to actually create simple charts and visualizations. So let's go to the sales tab and let's take a look at publishing the number of sales by year, say. So to do this, I can simply click on the sales checkbox and then perhaps click on the order date checkbox. And straight away you'll see that Power BI Desktop creates a chart for us sorting our sales by order date, and it's even creating this hierarchy of dates, so it identifies that dates can be broken down into months, quarters, and years. So it's automatically delivering us our results at that highest level, the years. If I want, I can choose to drill down in this and view it by years and quarters, or even further down into years and months as well. Alternatively, I can drill back up to the years function. Okay, let's try this again. Suppose I would like to see my sales, and we'll do it by the geography this time. Perhaps we can break it down by the country of residence of each of our customers. So in this sense, we can pull the data from our geography tab. We'll find the country, and we can now see that we have our sales presented by country. If I want to reorder this list, I can change the way that it's being ordered. So currently it's being sorted by the sales amount in ascending or descending order. Perhaps I might like to sort it by the list of countries in alphabetical order. This is currently descending, so I click on it again and we'll change it back to ascending order. If I decide I don't like this particular type of chart, then you'll see in this visualizations table there's a range of different other charts and ideas that I can use. So perhaps if I wanted to make this a bar chart instead, I can click on the bar chart and it'll display accordingly. So that's one way of being able to create reports. So I can click on anywhere in the blank report and create a chart by clicking on the visualizations instead. So for example, if I wanted to create a pie chart, I could click on the pie chart and then choose the checkboxes on the right hand side to see what is the breakdown of items that I'd like to present. In this way, I'm starting off with the chart type that I'm looking for and then getting the results based on the fields that I'm choosing to add to this chart. In addition to this, it's not just a case of charts only. I can still create tables and matrices of data. A matrix is essentially the pivot table, but within Power BI Desktop. So for example, I could set the sales amount broken down by the order date, going down the rows, and the different countries going across the columns. And I can resize this matrix to include all of the different data points in there. I still have the ability to drill down if I need to go down into either quarters or years and quarters as the case may be, just like I would with a standard pivot table. If I like, what I can also do is create a slicer to filter the data. So a slicer would allow me to present my results solely by a particular filter that I'd like to apply over the entire data set. So if I were to choose black in the slicer that I've created on the right hand side, that will then filter the data in all of the other charts and visualizations that I've created. When I deselect this, it will reset it back to normal. But there's one additional option here, which is the ability to click on different chart elements and see how that interacts with other visualizations. If I were to click on this 2004 item in the sales amount by year, you can see what happens to the other visualizations. In the case of some of the other charts, the relevant section, the highlighted section, is essentially the 2004 component of the total sales. So in the product type, you can see that the bikes have a very small proportion of sales being made up in 2004, whereas for clothing and accessories, quite a large proportion relative to the total sales is in 2004. You can see the relevant amounts in Australia. In the case of the matrix, this has actually filtered the data to look at only the 2004 results. If I were to click on 2004 again, this will remove that the filter or the highlight, and everything is reset back to normal. And I can repeat this process with the different other chart elements as well. If I were to click Australia, then we'll see how that interacts with the other charts. This is a very cool feature in Power BI that allows you to quickly drill in and see the results as they interact with each other. Now I'm going to deselect Australia and click on Australian sales in Q3 of 2001. And by doing this, again, I can see how this interacts with the other charts. Of course, it doesn't need to be a highlight interaction. We saw that when we clicked on the slicer, it was actually able to filter the results in other tables. And we can do this using the Edit Interactions tool in Format. If I click on Edit Interactions, I can see how the matrix interacts with other tables. So looking at the sales amount by country, currently the highlight option has been selected. I could say instead that there's no interaction, that if I were to click on the matrix table, the sales amount by country should not change. Alternatively, I could ask it to filter. So once I click on the matrix table, the sales amount by country will be filtered based on my selection. Let's try that now. If I click on filter, and then I choose the Australia column, the Australia value, you'll see that there's now only a single value in the sales amount by country name. Let's try this again, but this time let's choose the sales amount by year and set that the sales amount by country should be filtered. If I were now to select 2004, you'll see that the amounts relating to the different countries have all changed. So United States is now looking at a value of 3.3 million, Australia is looking at a value of 2.5 million. If I were to deselect 2004, the values increase back to their full levels, 9.4 million and 9.1 million. Finally, once you've created a report that you're happy with, the final product of Power BI Desktop is to publish this to the web. Now, once you publish this uploads the dataset and your reports to the cloud, where you've got the ability to then share this data with your colleagues or with other people. This also unlocks further features that are only available using the cloud analytics tools that Microsoft provide in the Power BI service. Hopefully this video has been useful to you. If you'd like to find out more about Power BI Desktop and Power BI more generally, please keep following us, check out our blog, keep watching, and we'll see you next time.